Alright, next Patreon request, and this one comes from Cyborg19.99, who asked me to do a three-way crossover between X-Men, Elfen Lied, and Resident Evil. As always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys can hit the third tier that allow you access to do all the videos that are exclusively on Patreon, as well as allow you to send requests for videos for me to do here on YouTube. But other than that, hope you all enjoy this, and let's get started. So the story begins with Leon S. Kennedy being dropped into a hot zone, or rather, hot zone in the sense that he's somewhere in a country that doesn't care for U.S. intervention, and he's kind of in North Korea. Essentially, he's gotten a hot tip from Ada that North Korea is kind of aiding and abetting, hiding Wesker and a new project he's been working on with an unknown third party. So Wesker's investigating. He's in there, and he finds the facility. And sure enough, it is a umbrella corporation facility but Wesker isn't there. However, he does he's like, shit, I just missed him. But he does find notes and whatever of a new project he's working on with this third party. And he's kind of flipping through the notes and whatever. He's like, oh my god, no way. So he basically he fucks off. He gets out of there. But however, at the same time, Chris Redfield was also sent on a mission, and he has with him his sister, Claire. So Chris and Claire are doing are basically hey, I think this is the first time you and I have ever worked together on a job. And they're like, yeah. Claire's ready to get at Wesker for what he did to her in Resident Evil 5. So she's just kind of aching to kill him. And oh no, that runs into the problem with continuity. Whatever, Wesker always comes back. So yeah, they are also breaking into a facility deep in Canada at the same time. So Chris, Claire, and their squad break into this facility, and it is a umbrella corporation, but they discover the same thing that Leon discovered at the same time. This isn't just a umbrella corporation facility, this is a Weapon X facility. And they're like, Weapon X? I thought they got scrapped decades ago. And they're like, well, someone didn't give them the memo. If Wesker's working with Weapon X, that means only one thing: he wants mutants. He's now after mutant DNA. Shocked he didn't go after it sooner. But however, just as they're getting all the stuff together, that's when they get attacked by an unknown adversary, a person in a pink with long pink hair and wearing a Weapon X helmet, exactly like what Wolverine had, and it's Lucy. So Lucy, the Diclonus, is just slicing soldiers left and right, just using her powers to just absolutely annihilate everyone in her path. Chris and Claire barely get out of there with their lives, but again, it wouldn't be a Resident Evil story if Chris didn't lose his entire squad, right? So they get back, they hook up with Leon, and Leon basically says, guys, I got some information for you, and they're like, oh, we already beat you to the punch. So they basically talk about Umbrella Corporation is working with Weapon X, and that's not all. They look like they've already recruited a mutant they've already got a mutant under their control. And they're like, so how do you want to handle this? And it's like, well, if we're dealing with Weapon X, we're dealing with mutants, so I think we need to make we need to go to New York. We need to go to a certain school. And they're like, you want to bring the X-Men in here? And they're like, they need to know. And they're like, well, maybe they shouldn't know. This could, And Leon's like, no, we don't know how to deal with these mutant problems, And also, they need to know if Wesker's going after mutants, and like you said, if they already got one, who knows what else they'll unleash mixing mutant DNA with the T virus. And they're like, all right, fine. So the three of them go to Xavier's school, and Charles Xavier is there, and he's like, may I help you, gentlemen? And Wolverine already has got his claws out, and he's like, they don't smell right. And Chris is like, back up, shorty, or it's gonna get real bad. And he goes, oh, you bet it is, bub. Claire cuts in and is like, look, enough. We're not here to fight. We're here to warn you, and we need your help. We need the X-Men's help. Does the name Weapon X mean anything to you guys? And they're like, and Wolverine's like, you better start talking. So Leon, Chris, and Claire debrief the X-Men as to what exactly is going on, and they also talk about we believe they already have someone in their control already. And he's like, and Wolverine's like, well, who? What? It's like she had long pink hair and had invisible arms stretching out. And so Xavier uses Cerebro to try to locate that mutant, but he's like, weird, it's not picking up. It's not distinguishing her as a mutant in the same sense we are. She's kind of and they're like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, maybe she's just another species of a mutant that's an offshoot of ours, similar to how we're an offshoot to you. Isn't evolution interesting? He's like, oh yeah, it's going to be a real gas when Wesker mixes the T virus with the mutant gene. Oh, we're going to have a great... Darwin's going to, come on a cookie for that one. So Wolverine's all interested, because he already knows, involving Weapon X, that means Professor Thornton is there. And he's like, I am going to... this time, I'm going to kill Thornton. So they're like, all right, cool. We'll let you know. We'll holler at you. And the X-Men are like, nah, you got us involved. This is a joint operation now. So from here on out, the X-Men that are sent are Cyclops, Wolverine, who insisted. So Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, and Rogue are the X-Men that are sent to assist Chris, Claire, and Leon. So the now joint operation heads to the last known location, which is they've discovered basically Xavier uses his telepathy to locate where Lucy is, and they basically find her in another location further into the Alaskan border. So Wolverine is all getting all ready, because he's like, every time I think I get away from a Weapon X, it always stays with me. And Chris is like, yeah, I know what it's like, having someone's or not Chris, Claire. So Claire basically talks about tells Wolverine what Wesker did to her, and they kind of bond, her and Wolverine bond over what Weapon X and what Thornton and Wesker did to them. So Storm uses creates a cloud cover for them. They disembark, and the team heads out. Kurt, Chris, and Rogue go. Split off to one team. Claire, Wolverine, and Cyclops are in another, and Storm and Leon. And I think, who else did I have? I literally forgot the team. Storm and Leon head off in another direction. So basically the three teams head out for three separate missions. Leon and Storm will destroy the base. They'll take care of destroying the base. Chris's team with Rogue and Kurt and Nightcrawler, with Rogue and Kurt, they'll basically destroy, hunt down and destroy any kind of research that could get out, while Claire, Wolverine, and Cyclops. Jean was with Scott. Storm and Leon. God, it's been a long day. I've done 3 videos in a row. It's a little exhausting, and I haven't eaten yet. So they go. So Jean and Storm and Leon are in charge of just wrecking house, and also while Wolverine, Claire, and Cyclops are in charge of finding finding Lucy, or who they don't know what she is yet, but they're gonna break her free. So sure enough, Wesker and Thornton are working together. They wanted to use the T virus on this new species of mutant called Diclonus, which is right now like an emerging species of mutant. So they are, they basically unleash Lucy on Wolverine and Claire and Scott. So it's just a full-on fight. Meanwhile, Kurt, Rogue, and Chris run into a tyrant who has adamantium in it, and Storm, Jean, and Leon are like fighting their way through mutated versions of Weapon X like armed soldiers. Like they're just mutated to almost be like almost zombie-like. So each respective team has to like fight their way to completing their objectives. Claire, Wesker, is just like, Claire, it's so good to see you again. With Thornton's help, maybe we can, fix those little pesky problems you had before. And she's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. But however, she and Scott and Wolverine are busy battling Lucy, and eventually Wolverine gets his claws and slashes the helmet, and it kind of breaks Lucy's control. But however, that doesn't mean she's happy to see anyone, because she's like, I wanted to be left alone, and you made me into a killing machine like those other humans did. Well, guess what? I'm gonna tear everything down. And that's what Lucy does. She just unleashes all of her power in one big swoop. She just unleashes everything she has and just starts destroying the base, killing everything. The X-Men and Chris's team, they barely get out as the facility falls apart. And by the end of it, they're just like, who was that? Jean was like, when she was lashing out, I felt the worst pain. I felt pain that I thought was no one should be ever privy, no one should ever experience. Like, she's up there with you, Logan. And he's like, agree to disagree, but whatever. But by the end of it, it's unknown what happened to Thornton and Wesker, but Lucy emerges from the wreckage of the Umbrella Weapon X facility and just heads off into the wilderness. So there you go, guys. That is the crossover. I want to thank Cyborg19.99 for this Patreon request, and you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse. Oh, and as always, like I said before, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below. Head on over to my Patreon, hit the 3rd tier. That'll allow you access to do videos here on YouTube. I think that's what also, just real quick, having done mostly Patreon requests on weekends now, I feel like that that kind of fills my time. Well, I still got writing my book to do, but there's hardly any news that comes out on the weekends, so I think Patreon requests are going to be moved to weekends. I don't know how many I'll do a weekend. It could be 2 or 3 or 4, but yeah, it just depends on how I feel physically and emotionally. Mental health is not, your mental health is always number one. Your physical and mental health is always the number one in your book. That should always be the case. So yeah. But I think I'll be doing Patreon requests mostly on weekends, depending on how I feel or something else. Anyway, but other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.